Hey everyone, this is Gilberto from Maverick Media Lab, and I am on here with Eric Richmond, one of our clients, and he's going to be talking about how he's already been able to get 4 pre-approvals and 2 active deals in the pipeline from realtors that previously didn't know about 3 to 4 months ago. Eric, welcome on. I'm glad to have you on.
Thank you, Gilberto. I really appreciate it. My apologies in advance. My throat is awful. My voice does not sound great, but I'll give it my best shot.
No worries. No worries. I
So
appreciate you hopping on here. And yeah, let's just kind of get into it, like, just so that, whoever's watching this kind of knows a little bit about you. Like, tell us a little bit about your background and who you are.
yeah, I've been in the mortgage origination business for probably the better part of 29, 30 years. Um, I am presently surrounded by some fabulous folks. My partner in crime over
Got
here,
your
Rob
pattern back
Willis,
there in the
awesome
background.
guy.
Yeah.
I love helping people out, love working tricky situations. The market itself's been very, very challenging the last probably year to 2 years.
Yeah.
Or you could say post-COVID, the market's been very challenging. And a lot of it, not to go on too much of a tangent, a lot of it obviously is due to rising interest rates, coupled with a real noticeable shortage in housing inventory. But as far as this program is concerned, the reason I chose to get involved is because of the lack of inventory, because of rising rates. And what that does is it creates a tougher environment where, if we're being honest with ourselves, as a loan officer, we have to develop more and more additional referral relationships with good realtors. So I thought very hard about this opportunity through Maverick Media Labs. I said, I got to give it a try. I watched testimonials, saw other loan officers succeeding as a result of participating with the program. And I can tell you firsthand, it's going to work for me as well. You just have to be diligent and disciplined and treat it like a serious opportunity, and you will see the fruits of your labor for this.
Yeah, you get out of it what you put into it. Absolutely correct.
Correct.
And yeah, tell us a bit, like you had mentioned, like some of the challenging things, like obviously like inventory, and then obviously like the post-COVID situation, all that stuff, like different factors that were making it harder for yourself to like produce more deals. Apart from that, when it came to like getting referral partnerships, what were some of those other bottlenecks or kind of like obstacles before working with us in terms of like growing those referral partnerships?
Well, I guess a lot of loan officers can attest to this. Uh, it's not easy to create new relationships, but you have to be disciplined about it. You have to ask a lot of probing questions of the new referral partner. I found that asking certain specific questions it just got them thinking, what are some of the objections or concerns or problems that they run into with other loan officers? To me, once the realtor started talking out loud and started to spill the beans, it was awesome. I got to hear about the problems they were running into. The biggest one was the lack of communication. Other loan officers were kind of ghosting them if there was something bad to share. Those are very, very valuable insights. So, just asking those probing questions helps tremendously on this side. And I think by asking those questions, I was able to speak with confidence and say, hey, you're not going to have any issues whatsoever. If you deal with me, I will respond to you as quickly as I can, always keep you informed, and always make sure of the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
One of the things I'm curious about, like, were there things that you had tried in the past for getting more referral partnerships? Like, did you do cold calling or did you do your own outreach, like before starting to work with us, or what did you do beforehand?
I think, like many loan officers, it was just a matter of getting introduced to new realtors and creating and forging new relationships. Obviously, it helps to come into a new situation where a realtor can vouch for the loan officer, speak very highly of them. One of the things that I take great pride in is my ability to do renovation loans, which is a very, very like significant niche product.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, right now they're so costly and so cost prohibitive. They're not really an easy loan program to work on. But I used to use the approach where, hey, I'm a specialist doing renovation loans, 203K,
Mhm.
and that would help me tremendously to break down doors, break
Yeah.
barriers, and really to get in front of new agents. Because if you could do a renovation loan, they would obviously be willing to throw you an easy opportunity once in a while.
Right, because you were a specialist in it. Got it.
Correct.
And when you reached out, was that mostly like through networking events? Was it cold calling? Was it like going to real estate offices? What was the main way that prior you had reached out to real estate agents?
So I don't know if I have a unique approach to trying to cultivate relationships, but I'll speak to this point because I think it's valuable for other loan officers. Every time we have a purchase transaction, we have a tendency to forget about the listing agent involved on the transaction.
Mhm.
I make it a point to go above and beyond to communicate with the listing side, probably more so than a lot of loan officers,
Mm.
because right there you have a captive audience and you're not having to sell them, but they're part of the transaction. And if you keep them well informed throughout the whole process, they are absolutely they're endeared to you at that point because you're providing a service for them that most people don't, and that is
Mm.
to simply keep them informed so they can keep their seller informed. And so I
Communication.
know for a fact I've picked up probably at least 2 or 3 good agents in recent times as a result of just working the listing side of the deal.
Nice. Okay. So it was mostly through like reaching out to like the listing agents. Did you find then that with reaching out to the listing agents, it wasn't enough like opportunities coming in to find to grow those referral partnerships, since that was like the main way? Was it, or did you find that there was kind of like a lack in opportunities to meet with enough agents? Was that kind of like the main kind of obstacle?
I think the way my mind tends to operate, just forging relationships with more and more and more realtors is the name of the game. Um,
Mhm.
I don't have per se 3 or 4 stud realtors that give me 8 or 9 loans a year. My philosophy has always been, I don't care if it's a onesie twosie situation, but if you have 30 or 40 of those and you're not having to constantly chase those people down, I think that model can work just fine. But through this program, it's my goal to identify at least 6 or 7 of the agents of the 45 qualified referrals where I can formulate long-term relationships. And the other
Yeah.
thing I stress, Gilberto, I always tell them, I don't need to be your number one person because let's be honest, every realtor that I'm trying to get in touch with, they already have relationships they've already formulated before they know who I am. But my objective is just to be another opportunity or another sounding board. So even if I'm the second person in line, that's fine by me.
And yeah, that's definitely a good strategy to come in as like the second guy, and then eventually you become the first with like the amount of trust that you build with the transactions. Yeah, I definitely like that you had mentioned that.
Yeah.
And
And a lot of these realtors, when they open up, they will tell you, hey, somebody just dropped the ball. I can't get a
yeah,
hold of them. And I know they're referring to their number one guy
yeah,
because I had it happen already a couple times. I
yeah.
said, look, I'm not going to blow up your phone and be a pest, but please, the next opportunity that comes along, uh, please make me that first option and I won't disappoint you.
Yeah, it definitely happens a lot. A lot, a lot. So yeah, it's a good thing for you. So you can, be in there and kind of show them what you got. And one thing I'm curious about, now that you've had the appointments, right? You've had like, I think we're now 3 months, right, of having the appointments. Talk to us about like the results from the meetings that you've had with the realtors, like in terms of like referrals and pre-approvals and closed deals. Like, what are the results that you've seen so far from those appointments?
Yeah. So one active deal in the pipeline, probably 5 or 6 pre-approvals in the works at this moment. It's important that we are mindful of just how tough the market's been for everybody since I started this program. We're probably involved at one of the lowest points we've seen for originations in recent memory. So it's been a grind for the realtors, for loan officers, but I guess through perseverance, when the market finally turns around and rates start to come back down, inventory hopefully picks up, then I think really it'll start to kick it, things will really start to kick into motion.
Yeah, I think if we had been talking in this time last year, we'd be seeing like double the results now. But I think what you've seen so far, I mean, it's still good. I mean, it's definitely, more than what the average loan officer is seeing, right? With the amount of outreach that we've been doing. And then you did mention you have one active that's going to be closing. And you mentioned there's another one, right? Another deal that just got started, right?
If we get an accepted offer in the next day or two, so that'll become another official active deal. I have several pre-approvals. Either I need more time on the job with overtime, just tricky stuff. Because on variable income, we have to have a little bit more time on the job to qualify the debt ratios. I mean, we're up against challenging phenomena, higher rates. Everybody's DTI is getting pushed. Job stability when you're using overtime matters. So I have a lot of tricky pre-approvals, but the important thing is I know I've gained the trust of the clients and the realtors. So even if these take more time than we wish to come to fruition, that's fine.
Yeah,
no problem.
That's pretty good though. 6 pre-approvals and 2 active deals.
Yes.
That's good. And what would
and
you
I
say?
know the numbers would be a lot better if we were in normal times.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
And yeah, absolutely. If it was February of 2021 or 2022, it'd definitely be double at least. So it's really good despite a down market. One of the things I'm curious about, like, so for the person who might be in your shoes where you were about 3 months ago, what would you say to that individual who is potentially thinking about having someone help them, grow their referral partnerships? Would you say to that person who might be worried about the rates, the market, the inventory, what would you say to that individual?
You mean to say with respect to joining the program? Is that what you're? I would say, look, you have to invest in yourself. I've been a bit of a hard head most of my career. In other words, being a little cost conscious. So without going to specifics on what the costs are, if you take the leap of faith and you do this program, statistically, you're going to run into enough good realtors to more than cover the commissions from those deals, to more than cover your expense for joining the program. And then, as I mentioned earlier, if you're closing 3 typical transactions, you are covering your expenses, and everything after 3 or 4 deals becomes a profit center. But you got to be willing to take the leap of faith. And that's always been something tough for me, but I did it, and I know it's going to work out long term.
Love it.
I'm just
And
being
one of the
very
things that
careful
I
not to irritate the realtors, but keep in touch with them, because there's several that are like, I know, we're almost at that spring market point. You're going to hear from us.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I found interesting that you kind of said in passing was that, previously you hadn't done this before, and like now one of the things you mentioned is like, despite the down market and despite like the interest rates, you had done this, right? So usually other loan officers probably like would be thinking, oh, because of the interest rates, because of the down market, I'm not going to do this. So can you share kind of like your mindset and kind of your frame of thinking in moving forward with this, despite kind of all the external obstacles that were in your way?
A great point that you bring up, Gilberto. Most people would naturally be inclined to not spend money or participate in this type of program during a down period. But I like to think I run counterintuitive. And the thing is, I had this premonition that this down market might be protracted, or it might be a longer down market than we want to hear. So if you don't do anything different in this down market, I believe you're going to be worse off. So this was, to me, a catalyst and a reason to do it in a down market. In a thriving market, things come too easy. In a down market, you got to reinvent yourself just a little bit, I feel. So I did.
Wise words. Yeah. And yeah, you bring up a good point, because I find that, you know, others of our clients that joined around the same time you did, when it was like the kind of peak of the down market, they had a similar mindset, right? That the times where it's tougher, it's time to be on offense rather than defense.
Right.
And we find that, you know, some loan officers that will like come in to talk to us, they might be on that defensive mode, whereas other individuals like yourself are on that offensive mode. And
Yeah, the best defense is a good offense. It's a sports analogy. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And so because you're on the offensive, you know, you're really like attacking the market and doing things that probably before you wouldn't, you know, have done, right? If you were getting just drowning in refis, you probably wouldn't be reaching out to as many realtors, right? And so now it's, you know, that time to change things up, like you said, you know,
Right.
something different to get a different result.
I mean, overall, I'm very happy I chose to do this.
This was years ago.
You know, if I'm going to volunteer to tell you, are there any frustrating moments? Yeah, when there are no shows.
Yeah, which will happen.
It happens.
Yeah.
But the good news is you guys make good on the allotted referrals that you claim that you're going to put in front of us. And so as far as I'm concerned, statistically, all the numbers added up. And within the statistics, we're not going to hit 1,000%. Like, not every realtor is going to be conducive to doing business. But like you say, it's a numbers game. And if I can forge 7 to 9 awesome relationships out of this program, then it was well worth it.
Absolutely. And the last question before I let you go.
Sure.
What was the thing that made you decide to move forward with this? Because I'm sure you probably get solicited all the time, like on marketing stuff. So what was the thing that like had you move forward with us on like helping you grow your referral partnerships, as opposed to doing some other thing, some other marketing thing?
Good. Another great question.
Yeah.
So I have spent money on other lead generation campaigns, like most loan officers.
Right.
The ones that come to mind that were not successful, in my opinion, it was because they were targeting borrowers that had just horrendous credit, no money saved, just the impossible scenario.
Yeah.
So I had participated in lead generation where the target audience was the actual borrower. And 9 times out of 10, they were just horrendous.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to get a couple diamonds in the rough here and there. But this is better because you're going after the real estate community, and they're getting a constant inflow of buyers, not all of whom are married to a lender. And so I just think it's a better opportunity to target the realtor rather than the consumer. Because again, I mean, if you're doing Zillow, yeah, you might get some higher end clientele that are good. But a lot of these lead generation programs that don't target the realtor as the audience, my success has not been great with those programs.
Yeah, I find that to be true with our other clients that have done the lead generation programs before. They kind of all say kind of a similar pattern of they got low credit score people, like the ones that don't have the down payment, all that kind of stuff. Whereas with the realtor stuff, like they're usually like, you know, they have the credit score, they've been vetted by the realtor, then it's just a much better quality lead.
And the successful realtors in the 30-something age category, their sphere of influence is typically going to be with better qualified individuals than just these randomly generated leads through other lead generation systems. So you got to think about the sphere of influence that the realtors control through their own marketing and through their own sphere of family, friends, and coworkers.
Much better approach. Yeah. And I'm glad that despite your experience with prior marketing services that you still took that leap of faith. I know that it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't easy for you, especially, during this down market. So I really appreciate you, like really taking that leap of faith and trusting us and doing this for you and being able to help you with your realtor partnerships, because I know that's definitely not an easy thing. And I'm happy that you got like already seeing great results, and 3 months down the line already going to see even more results as
I'll cover the expenses in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And then by the middle of the year, everything from that point forward, I can categorize as profit, because the first 3 deals will cover the expenses as far as commissions are concerned.
in the Pennsylvania market. Gotcha.
Yeah,
And
and the average deal might be, my average loan size is not somebody else's average loan size, but it's probably 300K, 325.
Yeah.
You do 2, 3 of those, and you net out the taxes and you cover the expenses.
yeah, about 2 of those. Definitely. And so, yeah, I also want to appreciate you for your time and hopping on
Sure.
as well.
Thank you.
For sharing your feedback on this, and just basically how the results have been, how the appointments have been, and all that stuff. So I appreciate you for sharing your honest feedback, and I'm going to share this to the team as well, because I know they're the ones that are setting the appointments, or they're going to be super pumped to see that all of those appointments for Eric Richmond.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be rough around the edges, because I know I come across like I'll say it, I come across like an ass at times, but I'm a good guy at the core, and I stick to appointments. And it's frustrating when occasionally, if a realtor doesn't stick to their appointment, there's a no-show, because we always have to talk about the good and the bad in the same sentence. But the majority of those realtors would say, I was tied up, my apology, and they would call me 15 minutes after I had left them a message. There were a few that were just complete no-shows altogether, but the majority I couldn't get at the predetermined time. They usually got back to me.
Yeah, most are pretty good about it. There is kind of like the, one out of several, like out of, I don't know, 1 out of 20 that just like don't communicate, or, for whatever reason,
Exactly.
life happens. But yeah, I'm glad that we were able to still, get those in for you and, be able to replace those. So yeah, once again, I really appreciate you, Eric,
Sure.
for sharing your honest back, and, the team has really been pushing for you. And I'm glad that, we've been able to see the results for you. You've gotten all these appointments with realtors.
Yeah, and tell Angelo he's awesome. I had great dialogue with Angelo, and we would do about, we would chat once a week, usually on a Friday. I bring him up to speed on where we are statistically, and I spoke to X number of realtors, and we got 6 more to go. So we were always on the same page.
Yeah, and Angelo's the account manager for those watching, and so yeah,
Yes.
I'm glad that he was communicative, at least doing the weekly check-ins, making sure that everything's good. So Eric, I'll let you go. I know you got to run, and you got another appointment soon. So once again, thank you for sharing everything and for choosing us as the company.
And I'm sorry the voice sounds horrible. This never happens to me.
No, you're good.
Seriously. Terrible.
Good. No, you're